Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the USA Ultimate Division I College Championships is presented by Breakmark. Visit them on the web at breakmark.com.
The USA Ultimate Division I College Championships, where dynasties are built, legends are written, and legacies secured. Over 500 teams began this journey, but there will be only 2 left standing as champions.
For the 3rd consecutive season, North Carolina Pleiades and Colorado Quandary colliding in bracket play at College Nationals. This is a semifinal in the women's division. Pleiades, the 3-time reigning champions, trying to get back to another title game, but Colorado Quandary with other ideas. Colorado got a pre-quarters win at 8 a.m. this morning, and then they came back from 3-0 down against Tufts in quarters. Meanwhile, UNC won on Universe in a thriller against Carleton. Hi, everybody. Evan Lepler with Katie Killebrew. It's still raining. It's still windy. It's still cold. Other than that, it's perfect ultimate weather.
I couldn't agree more. It absolutely poured rain in the break, and now we're getting a little bit of a lightening of the rain. But I think that both of these teams are so excited to face each other yet again. Hopefully
the rain lightens. We don't get lightning, because we had plenty of that here on Friday. Colorado is led by a Chapel Hill native, but we'll talk about the women from Chapel Hill. Pleiades is superstar Dawn Colton, a dynamic defender, but she also leads the team in goals this weekend.
I feel like sometimes the majesty that is Dawn Colton sometimes gets lost because people might just be sick of hearing her name, but she is not sick of being excellent, really upping her game season after season, and continues to really contribute for this Pleiades side.
Certainly the household name in the women's division, but Cleo Phillips making a name for herself, and she spent a large part of her childhood in Chapel Hill, went to Chapel Hill High School, never really considered matriculating to UNC because she wanted to go into engineering, and there's no engineering school there, but Quandary has been a great home for her, and she's a dynamic all-around player for this Colorado squad.
She's also the Callahan nominee this year, and hearing her talk about it, say, you know, what was it like? She was like, it was really exciting to see the video of myself. Sometimes you don't think about your own accomplishments, and I think talking with Cleo, sometimes she doesn't necessarily think on the field, a very big emotion player, and sometimes she surprises herself and us with the plays that she's able to make, and that's what I'm really looking forward to in this moment, is seeing what kind of Cleo Phillips is going to show up for Quandary.
Well, Colorado has not gotten by North Carolina in recent years. Last year it was the championship game won by UNC. 2 years ago it was a sloppy semifinal. We might have a reprise of that this afternoon, but we're playing Frisbee, and that is something to be thankful for. Semifinal Sunday here at College Nationals, UNC and Colorado coming up.
The 2024 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Discraft, home of the UltraStar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Your place for all your ultimate and disc golf needs. Visit discraft.com. We make flying discs fun.
Oh, through the intermittent downpours, we've continued to see high-level ultimate. Pleiades surpassing Carleton on Universe Point in the quarterfinals. And Colorado coming back from an early 3-0 deficit against the upstarts from Somerville, Massachusetts, and Tufts University. Pleiades taking the field with energy. Don Colton leading North Carolina onto the line. And obviously, Cleo Phillips, we talked about her in the open, but she's not the only star for this Colorado team. Abby Galach has raised her game. They still have the Olympian snowboarding star, Stacy Gaskill. And they have not one, not two, but 3 Callahan winners on their coaching staff. So that's a lot of brain trust to strategize and try to take down the Giants from Chapel Hill.
And this is a battle that Quandary has been on for several years. They keep trying to be in that space. This is a game that has eluded them in the past, and to see this happening in the semifinal, again, this matchup is something that I think that both teams continue to look forward to.
So typically, historically, at college nationals, the semifinals are played through 4 different rounds, individually watched and broadcast. But because of the conditions this weekend, we got Stanford and Vermont going on in the adjacent field. Vermont a 4-2 lead in the first half there, started about a half hour ago. North Carolina begins this game on offense. UNC O-line certainly a very different look than a year ago without Alex Barnett and Ella Younks, just 2 superstars. And there's great handler pressure in the game's first turnover as Rose Bransford gets the block in the backfield for Colorado. Early break chance, but it eludes Phillips on the swing.
Little nervy from both teams.
Chikuski launching deep. Teresa Yu. The wind helped to push that one deep. Chikuski is one of the players that's really stepped into Alex Barnett's absence as a key shooter for this Carolina squad. Teresa Yu, a captain, a returning star as well. Right now, the wind is gusting about as ferociously as it has all day long. It has not been a great day to play Ultimate, aside from the fact that we've been able to play Ultimate and we're not sitting around waiting like we were most of the day on Friday. A drop near the sideline, 4th turn of the point, and Pleiades will pick up from across midfield. Different looking Pleiades jerseys this year, Katie.
I think it's fitting for a Pleiades team that is retooling so much, as you were talking about, and the coaches were talking about how they...
Crossfield shot, nice put, and Pleiades able to convert. Sarah Combs to Dawn Colton.
Saying that Pleiades is really retooling, and even though it's the score to Dawn Colton, this team is really seeking to find their own identity, their unique playing ability. Obviously, you know, Ella Youngs, Alex Barnett, and players before them are big shoes to fill, but you can't be that player, and you have to be your own person, and we're seeing these players finally coming into their own and making an impact. And that's exactly what Pleiades is going to need them to do. They don't need to be Ella Youngs. They have to be themselves, but in order to get themselves into the final, into another national championship spot, they have to really be great.
The conditions have created many turnovers today. Taylor Smith with a drop, and then any deep shot intended for Colton is usually a pretty good idea. And we were watching Tufts, Colorado across the street earlier today, and we're watching, you know, Kemp, the star for Tufts, and we're thinking, oh, Colton trying to guard her, that's going to be a great matchup. But Colorado, Katie, after a really slow start, a sluggish start to their quarterfinal, roared back. You thought Quandary made a few crucial adjustments in that comeback.
Yeah, Quandary's D-lines started to force middle on Tufts' vertical stack. And in the wind and rain, the deep looks weren't connecting for Tufts and really let Colorado get a couple of breakbacks, and they had some really excellent poise on the end zone, something I think we've been missing from them in previous seasons. Sometimes they just throw the disc away too often.
It's a nice around throw from Emma Williamson, but unable to bring it in. Nori Catalano with a drop. Nice catch, contested grab in the middle by Catherine Fredenberg, and this deep shot looking for Louder, but Sarah Laughlin was there defensively, and it lands incomplete.
And for Colorado, I would say this is a very similar start that they had in their Tufts game. They're feeling out of field. They're maybe putting big shots, but not making connections, not really being on the same page. It took them 3, 4, 7 points to really dial in. So I feel like maybe this isn't the position they wanted to be in, but it's certainly a position they've put themselves in before.
And we're certainly seeing some decisions that say we don't want to turn it over near our goal line. Did that land inbounds or out of bounds? It was ruled out of bounds. It never came back. So Colorado's going to have this about 15 yards from the goal line. Very talented Emma Williamson picks up. Up the line, perfectly placed, and a layout score. Faye Burdick with the early equalizer here in the semis.
Faye Burdick was an integral part of their comeback against Tufts. Faye is a player who I think really does an excellent job of being poised in key moments and playing. You can also see on her right hand there a wrap job, so that's her throwing hand, but continues to seem unaffected by the injury to her finger, and throwing and catching big scores like that.
Nice throw by Williamson and a better catch by Burdick. Katie, you and I were trying to open the windows in our little press box here, and now the rain is coming in sideways, so we're going to close them for the moment. We have that luxury. The players on the field and the fans in the stands do not. It's a good day to own a large umbrella here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yes, I think we feel more affected by it than the players seem to, because they have been playing in this, standing out in this all day. And some of them, I think, really enjoy it. I saw a lot of them slipping and sliding, diving and moving around in the mud. This is a turf field, so it's a little bit different. But I think that these players love to play Frisbee, and I think they're going to be undaunted by a little bit of rain.
Erica Birdsong floats it near the sideline. It eludes Caroline Spencer, and Colorado has its third break opportunity of the game. Both schools had 2 break chances on the other's first 0 point. Neither could convert. Cleo Phillips moved to Chapel Hill when she was 9. And then came to Colorado, and she's trying to dethrone several of her high school friends. Bobbled and dropped by Bradley. On a day like this, Katie, you just got to will yourself to keep going. You need to maintain a mentality that mistakes are inevitable. This shot put up near midfield, and Phillips tips it away from you. There was certainly contact after the deflection. And this will be an interesting call here for the observers. First things first, checking on to make sure Teresa Yu is okay.
Yeah, the Pleiades captain there is giving some good things. Coaches coming in and checking on the player there, which we like to see.
We do have the luxury of having an observer in the booth with us to share his thoughts on the rules in certain situations. Jonathan Monforti joins us now. we have a situation here where it looked to me like the disc was deflected before the contact occurred, and I'm curious how you identify the appropriate rules to think about here in terms of whether this is a foul or not.
It looks like there's no call on the field. There was just an injury call. In the hypothetical case of, contact before a play on the disc, you'd have to assess if the offensive player had a second effort. If they did, you might consider awarding a foul in that case.
It also could be a foul if there was a dangerous play involved.
Absolutely.
There's Teresa Yu earning possession back. Good to have Jonathan Monforti with us. He's just happy to be dry. All right. Carolina looking to finish off this hold with Allie Riley sneaking it near the goal line to Teresa Yu. Lefty backhand for the score. It's Riley. 2-1 UNC.
And we're trading points here, but I think to your point earlier, Evan, in games like this where the disc gets slippy and there's a lot of other things happening, you really can't let turnovers get to you because turnovers are going to happen for both sides. So it's about that mentality, thinking, am I going to get it back? What is my defensive pressure going to be? And we saw both Cleo Phillips and Teresa Yu, captains of their respective schools, making really big plays in this. One of the things I really love about Teresa Yu is last year we saw her mostly as a handler, exclusively in the handler space. And as she's grown this year, we see her streaking deep and really stretching the offense, and then with the poise there on the end zone line, which was excellent work after a little up and down point for North Carolina.
So now the two teams a combined 0 for 6 on break chances. Remember a couple years ago in the semifinal, there were 70 total turns in the game, and UNC was just 2 for 30 on break chances. And what was an ugly game, they still survived 11-10, but they blew a 4-1 lead. Great comeback by Colorado. It wasn't the greatest game, but it was very exciting and very close at the end. The final last year was a much cleaner contest. UNC won with just 12 turns, and Pleiades will have its third break opportunity right here.
Yeah, the D-line for Pleiades is really putting a player in the middle, trying to stop Colorado's hucking game, forcing them wide, and Colorado's just not able to keep it within the two sidelines.
Sarah Combs with a rising stall count, dropped by Myers-Miller.
We'll see if Pleiades does the same strategy again with that player in the lane at the beginning to stop the huck, and then really intense pressure on the undercut.
Well, intense pressure is Don Colton's middle name.
I think Don Colton probably has a couple of middle names.
This one staying with Burdick and Colorado. Williamson moves it for Phillips. Cleo into traffic, connecting with her co-captain, Sierra Petrash. And the lefty backhand into the hands of Burdick for her second goal. And we're tied 2-2.
And a much cleaner possession there for Colorado once they got moving, once they got past that poach of North Carolina. This is a team that's very comfortable catching under pressure. And I think once they adjust to those minute differences from their previous game, the wind, the exact slipperiness of the disc as the rain is coming down right now, the wind, all of that as we go. And you can see there the Colorado coaches coming in to make defensive calls very quickly. They are prepared for rain.
Adding Ronnie Eater, U.S. national team member, to the staff. Star from Molly Brown. As you see through the haze, this Colorado conversion. Good to see Sierra Petrache back on the field. She's battled a number of injuries, an ACL knee injury that kept her out for nearly 2 full seasons, and then had a shoulder injury this past week, which has basically had her playing lefty for much of nationals. But it's her final chance. She could not play. That wasn't an option.
Absolutely not. And the joy on her face to just see her on the field and see her teammates celebrating her, now filling a captain role for Quandary this year, is pretty special, because I think this Quandary team really has been affected by big injuries in the past. And so anytime somebody comes back on the field, they are extra celebratory of that person.
She tore her labrum about a week and a half ago, laying out at practice. Got a steroid shot, said, I am playing at nationals. No breaks so far, despite plenty of break chances. And Teresa Yu, unable to bring it in, sneaking up the line. But a quick turnover to give it right back to UNC.
It almost looked like you got a little bit of a piece of that. And so maybe she has the turnover, but she seems unaffected by it.
Riley trying to get free, defended well by Burdick. So the around finds Shakuski, continue for you. And into the end zone, over the outstretched arms of Phillips to an awaiting Dawn Colton. Both these teams settling in. And the Stars, as you would expect, are making plays.
That was a really smart and aware pass by you. It looked a little bit floaty and airy from that angle, but she was seeing Cleo Phillips in that underspace, hunting for a block, poaching in that lane, and by floating it over her to the space, Dawn Colton had no other pressure on her. That lane may have appeared taken, but that kind of awareness is, I think, something that Teresa Yu is going to have to continue to do, because Colorado is one of the teams that I've seen play this weekend that is the best at making defensive adjustments as the game goes on. So maybe that one got away from Phillips due to Yu's perception, but I don't think that that will continue to do. Cleo Phillips is going to keep learning from these moments, and I think we're going to see some high-flying plays on both sides, especially if Phillips and Colton start to match up on each other.
This is the 5th straight year Pleiades is in the semifinals. Their last loss in bracket play at College Nationals came in the 2019 semis against a Dartmouth team that fell to Dina Elimelek's UCSD squad in the final down in Texas. And I was thinking earlier this morning, Katie, the Texas Heat would feel really good right now.
I was also thinking about Heat today in terms of factors of weather really affecting Ultimate. Maybe weather affecting Ultimate more than most other sports, because it really changes the tactics that you can use on the field and how you use your squad. But I think that these teams are used to adversity, whether it be heat or wind or rain.
Oh, goodness. Leaping catch just a yard shy of the goal line. Colton resets. Riley gives it up. And into the end zone, a stumble, but it's a score for Macy Hudson. And the game's first break belongs to Pleiades.
Pleiades celebrating that break from their defensive pressure, finally limiting the lanes, and that underneath defensive pressure there, yielding so many things. I just love watching their flow. Pleiades is traditionally a team that really fits into system. They do such a good job of continuing to grind, continuing to create lanes for each other, and the churning nature is so difficult to play defense on, especially when you give Pleiades a short field to work with. You don't really get a chance to set up on defense the way you would want to when Pleiades moves that fast.
Timeout taken by Colorado. Quandary has North Carolina right where they want them, falling behind like they did in the Tufts game. Macy Hudson, the grad student from the University of Tennessee, with the game's first break for UNC, and it's a 4-2 lead for Pleiades here in the semis. Colorado back on the line. 20 minutes into this semifinal. On the adjacent showcase field, University of Vermont trying to take half on Stanford. Currently leading 7-3. Vermont, UNC, and Colorado all back in the semis from last year. Stanford fell in the quarters last year to North Carolina in a 15-12 game. British Columbia, the #1 seed this year, and the semifinalist from a year ago that lost to Colorado, falling short of this year's Final Four. The Thunderbirds upset by Tufts on day one. And I don't know if they ever really recovered from Maddie Young's injury. She played, but she was not the same. And it was certainly a disappointing weekend for the women from Vancouver.
Pleiades coming out in a zone here, really forcing a lot more throws, but allowing resets. Colorado seems content to swing and gain yards bit by bit up the field. Now breaking into a person defense.
Stacey Gaskill, some of her first touches of the game, and she hucks it for Rose Bransford. And the first turnover-free clean hold of the game. Gaskill with a nice dime to Bransford.
It's got to be a good emotion hold. You call the timeout, you recenter your offense. Pleiades throwing zone, trying to throw you off, but it doesn't really settling into that, and seeing Gaskill be upfield a little bit and then be able to hone in on that space in the end zone was a really good confidence building moment for Colorado.
Stacey Gaskill has not been around the Quandary team all season long. She's an Olympian snowboarder, traveling the world, based in Utah. She's got a lot of commitments, but the Colorado captains have said when she rejoins the team, she does it seamlessly. She melds in both from a skill standpoint and a social standpoint like she's never left. And you can kind of sense that if you spend a little time around this Colorado squad. Obviously, Gaskill, a really important piece to Colorado if they're going to be as good as they can be.
Really excellent pull there from Colorado. Puts Pleiades back in their own end zone.
And her pulls are as good as anyone in the division. Perhaps either division. The rain has lightened up for the moment. Still pretty windy. Carolina going into the breeze right now. It is not the windiest it has been, however. Nice backhand from Riley to Birdsong. By the way, Vermont took half 8-4 on Stanford. 4 breaks to 1 over on the other showcase field. Spencer finds you. Teresa Yu trying to squeeze it through the tight space, and Cleo Phillips was ready for it.
It's really good work by the Colorado handler defenders to force Yu so deep on that upline cut. She's putting that throw further away, which gives Phillips a chance to go poach in that space safely because it's floating for so long. So it's really the defensive positioning on the handlers that gave them that opportunity, forcing Pleiades into a suboptimal position.
This is the 6th break chance for Quandary. Seeking their first D-line conversion. Great layout from Petrash. Sierra Petrash with a right hand stumbles down. Phillips to Burdick. For all.
I was going to say we had that matchup we'd been wanting, Colton on Phillips, but Colton not really making an impact there as Dawn Colton as Cleo Phillips continued to move in that handler space. But for me, it was the movement of Sierra Petrash really going and getting big gainers upfield, laying out for 2 of them, and then having the poise on the end zone line. We hadn't seen that Colorado show up in this game, and that's a Colorado that's going to need to continue to show up in order to make inroads against Pleiades. Because we've seen Pleiades goes down, we've seen Pleiades be up, but Pleiades will believe in Pleiades, and they do Pleiades things. Obviously, the reason that they are a 3-time national champion is they get things done and they find a way. And I'm excited to see this game be close and see some lead changes, because Colorado's been on the doorstep. They've been on the doorstep, and they've been working for this, even though they seem a little bit, goofy. They said they win the dance party. They don't seem to have that, heat-seeking missile intensity that we've seen with other teams, but they find themselves here in this position, and I just want to see if they can actually make that breakthrough.
So 1 break per side, 8 points in. Winner of this one will play in tomorrow's championship game. Colorado trying to conquer the UNC Mountain. That deep shot intercepted. Phillips. The backhand up the line, brought in by the accelerating Stacey Gaskill. Cross field for the score. And Colorado has its first lead here in the semifinals.
They are fired up and playing excited. As I could say, they are a dance party. They dance, they sing, maybe more than any other team I've seen at the facility this weekend. They just have a lot of goofy joy with each other, which is, I think, an interesting counterpoint to the intensity with which they play defense. That one was just read so much better by Colorado. Like I said, they're so good at learning their matchups and eventually getting into those spaces. And Stacey Gaskill just puts this one out into space. Really good reception, using the width of the field for that score.
Certainly a glimpse at Gaskill's superpowers. The ability to accelerate, use the wingspan. Obviously, she can throw from both wings. And great big game experience. You can't overlook that when you're trying to conquer a team the caliber of North Carolina. Stacey Gaskill celebrated her 24th birthday earlier this week. It was Tuesday. And she is not going to stay on the field for this next deep point. She'll get a breather.
Yeah, Stacey is one of the few players who is graduating from Colorado, and they're really trying to continue to build their program and build their depth. And that's one of the things I think has served them in this tournament, is that they have more pieces that they can turn to and let players like Stacey Gaskill rest a point or two so that they can really keep coming out fresh. Alternatively, Dawn Colton back on the field for Pleiades.
Well, back-to-back breaks for Colorado Quandary. Williamson with a pull. Over on the other showcase field right now, they are announcing the men's Callahan winner. When we find out, we will let you know. Women's Callahan winner should be announced at halftime of the Georgia Brown men's semifinal, which is scheduled for 4 o'clock Central Time.
Colorado is starting to try to poach on that handler space and really limit the throwing lanes, forcing those handlers back and so far away from their cutters, which leaves that opening for that defensive block again for Colorado.
Quandary has seized momentum here. Williamson sizzles it for Catalano. Burdick has been prominent. Low, difficult throw brought in by Pirati. Colorado was down 4-2. Trying to make it 4 straight scores, and Williamson unable to bring it in. By the way, Katie, Georgia's Aiden Downey won the Callahan in the men's division.
Aiden Downey is a very exciting player to watch, and we're not going to get to watch him in semis.
No, it was ironic. He and Jacques Nissen were standing next to each other during the Callahan ceremony. Jacques' Brown team eliminating Aiden's Georgia team in a wild, rainy semifinal or quarterfinal earlier this morning. What a day it's already been here in Madison. North Carolina men somehow surviving to make the semifinals for the 9th or for the 10th straight time. Colton up the line and into the end zone. A critical response from Carolina. Shakuski ties it up 5-all.
Dawn Colton doesn't seem like she's celebrating as much as getting water, immediately prepping for the next point, getting so much usage, being relied upon so much by the coaching staff for Pleiades. But that's one thing I think that we'll have to keep an eye on as we keep going in this game, because Colorado continues to play their depth. They're not pushing players over each time, and the defensive intensity that they've been able to get, they're not just letting Pleiades turn it over. They are going and getting blocks, which I think makes a big difference in the longer course of a game, especially.
This is the 7th game for, I beg your pardon. It's the 6th game for North Carolina since yesterday morning. Carolina was not able to take the field on day 1. Colorado got 1 game in on day 1, played 3 games yesterday. This is Colorado's 3rd game today. It's their 7th game of the tournament. A lopsided loss to Vermont. But in every other game, they have gotten the job done, including the comeback against Tufts in quarters. Was that clean? Clearly deflected on the mark.
Yeah, I'm seeing a foul hand signaled between these two players. The observer.
No foul.
Signaling, you know, that they chose to let the observer rule, and now we are back in action after that turnover.
So that's Catherine Friedenberg getting the clean hand block. The break opportunity goes awry. Sarah Combs whiffs on the under. Phillips quickly picks up. And a pick downfield halts play, lets everyone get a breather.
Colorado is using the full width of the field. Carolina now doing a more straight up mark, trying to stop that movement upfield. Because Colorado likes to shoot deep. And so I think it's a good tactic, but Colorado is showing more patience at the moment. Cleo Phillips really quarterbacking that situation upfield, or in the backfield. Moving upfield quickly. Really no options.
A prayer for Gaskill. That's a nice option to shoot for when the stall count's getting high. 6-5 Quandary. Stacey Gaskill making an impact on this first half, Katie. 2 assists and now her first goal. I think it's fair to say she has not been as dominant this year at Nationals as she's been in the past, but good things happen for Colorado when Stacey's involved.
I can't disagree with you, but I do think that the players around Stacey have really elevated their game, and I think that sometimes, you know, when you have a force of athleticism like Stacey Gaskill is, it's really nice when they can do that. We've seen, you know, Dawn Colton is going to be back on the field yet again, and that kind of usage, I mean, I have to imagine with them having universe point games that Colton has had so much usage over the course of the weekend. I don't have the stat on how many total points that she has played compared to other players. But if this subbing pattern is any indication, she has had a lot of usage by North Carolina.
Bradley to Gaskill to make it 6-5. Williamson preparing to pull. Claire Chastain. Hannah Leathers. Alika Johnston. Cassie Swafford. Ronnie Eater. The coaching quintet for Quandary. Chastain winning the Callahan with UNC Wilmington. It was a decade ago that Cassie Swafford won the Callahan and the national title with Ohio State. And a couple years after that, Alika Johnston, representing the University of Virginia, took home the Callahan.
Pleiades is running a horizontal stack after their pull play, but the handlers and cutters keep getting so far away from each other that they catch it afield and then there's just not another option. I think one that they're usually used to seeing, and they seem a little bit stymied in that space, just not having the continuation that they're looking for.
The Callahan winner from 2 years ago, Don Colton, was just bolting deep, but no angle to unleash the throw. Colton's going, and this time it goes up, and Colton came back for the underthrown disc. Around Burdick, she reached to bring it in. Phillips anticipated that throw, but couldn't prevent Shakuski from getting there, and then Colton finishes it off for UNC. Don Colton, the third member of the Pleiades program to win the Callahan after Ann Worth won it in 2020, and Leela Tennell took the honor back in 2011.
Don Colton is doing work because, like I was saying, there was really no options. There was stagnation upfield for Pleiades, and then finally when Teresa Yu pointed, Don Colton said, fine, I guess I'll make yet another cut and find that really getting the better of that Faye Burdick matchup. Phillips coming over to try to help in that space. Really well read there by Colton on that grab, and then putting it up into space, trying to jump in, and then I think some players thought it was a score, but Don Colton wanted to be sure. You could see her running into that space to get the score right after that.
So we're tied 6-6, but Colorado is still up a break. 2 breaks to 1. Colorado trying to maintain their slim advantage. Center to Bradley. And here's Phillips. Zone look from Carolina. Here's Burdick. And that's intercepted. Ripped away by Bella Russell. And Carolina not in, apparently. Friedenberg. Back for Hudson. Here's Yu. I beg your pardon, this is Wu. And still apparently straddling the line, not in. So Russell finally finds Colton, and Dawn gets another goal, and Carolina finishes off another break. And we're back on serve, Katie, just like that. How about Bella Russell? 2 times has represented the United States in the U20 cycle as a youth player. One of the big recruits this year for College Ultimate, making an impact here in the semis.
That was a really good defensive call by the Pleiades coaches. They're having that kind of flat mark, and we'd seen the previous defense, which allowed all of those swings to happen, and this one was actually setting up the Colorado handlers to think that the swing was open and get that poach block. So it's a really good contrasting defensive style between those two. They got the block and then had to make so many end zone throws. I can't really fault the putting Don Colton on the line every time if she's going to make big plays like that and continue to get breaks to put Pleiades up.
That D was really ridiculous, just like intercepting the catch block. You don't see that very often, particularly from a freshman in the semis of nationals.
Some players just show up with more poise than others, and those are the players that you end up leaning on as a coach because they seem unaffected by the moment. And sometimes that's certainly the freshmen, the new players, because they just don't know to be afraid. Pull landing out, being centered.
Yeah, Don Colton, by the way, 4 goals, 1 assist so far in this semifinal.
And now we're seeing another almost 5-person up front cup, but Colorado got past it so quickly they didn't really get a chance to set up.
Dropped in the end zone. My goodness, Faye Burdick has been playing so brilliantly, but a hiccup there when it should have been 7-all.
One of the few points that Dawn Colton is not on the field. And Pleiades has a break chance. Can their young players,
or their lesser experienced players like Macy Hudson, new on the team, but a grad student at Chapel Hill. Gets it back from Wu. A gainer for Myers-Miller. Izzy no stranger to this stage.
they're making lots of throws, but they're not gaining many yards. That straight up mark, continuing to force the disc wide and back to the handlers.
This one will be ripped down.
Burdick with the disc again. Yeah. Pick up field, stops play.
By the way, Katie, Vermont took half 8-4. It's now 8-7. Vermont leads Stanford in the other women's semi, going on concurrently.
I don't think you can ever count out Stanford in semis. They are known for making big plays in big games.
Williamson leaves her feet, maintains possession. Burdick sure-handed there. Galach to the end zone, snagged for the score. Nori Catalano brings it in.
You know, I'm watching this. I'm looking at my page, and it almost doesn't feel like we should be at 7-7.
What do you mean by that?
It doesn't feel like either of these teams have really weighted, you know, heavily weighted into the moment. It doesn't feel like one team is about to take half at semifinals. It doesn't really feel like either team is feeling the pressure of this moment. It feels like they're just playing points. Like, let's see if we can get another one. And I think that at some point, like, that energy has to shift, right?
Well, these are two teams that have made a habit of making it to the semis and the finals, so this is just another important game at Nationals. I mean, there are very few players in this game who haven't played in a college semi before.
That is very true. So maybe that is business as usual for both of these teams. Colorado on defense.
Each team has 2 breaks. We are on serve. North Carolina received at the start, now receiving at 7-7, trying to take half. Louder needs a reset to Shakuski. Riley keeps it alive. Colton going deep. The throw comes under for Louder. Stacy Gaskill in the deep space on Colton, but the underthrow is too low. To the turf, intended for Combs, quickly restarted for Phillips. Foul called, no contest. It is not the sweetest foot block on Galaxy Point you've ever seen.
Not that one. Phillips there trapped on the sideline, and there just isn't really anyone close to her to try to make that reset.
Williamson Stall count rising, but Bransford breaks free. Galach to Phillips. At some point, you got to imagine this is going to go up to Gaskill, although Colton is the defender that's nearby in the deep space. So Colorado perhaps content to just work it slowly and use these matchups to their advantage.
Continuing to grind, not throwing to their first option, usually finding something else.
Excellent mark from you. Stall count getting high, and the throw into the defender, and it's a block for Shakuski.
I think that in that case, Colorado had some around break looks, and they just weren't really stepping through the very good marks of Pleiades to get it to the other side, and they ran out of options.
Talk about active marks. Stacy Gaskill bouncing around, but Colton finds Shakuski, who launches deep. You chased by Phillips. The disc hanging up, but it finds you in the end zone. What a shot from Shakuski, and Carolina takes half 8-7.
Like I said, has been in the handler space and now is really making an impact in the deep space. She's not a player you can look away from because she will go in the opposite direction, really making a huge impact there for that Pleiades hold to take it to half. What a shot from Shakuski. Although if that hung for 1 millisecond longer, I think that D would have belonged to Cleo Phillips.
I thought Cleo was going to get there, to be honest. But it came down pretty quickly after it had floated for a while. It looks like we got Quandary coach Alika Johnston with the microphone. Alika, can you hear us? All right, we cannot hear you, but hopefully we'll turn up that mic. Alika, we got you?
Yes.
All right, now we can hear you. What a half. What a day. What a weekend. Two breaks per side in this first half. How do you feel about where your team is at right now?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Alika, can you tell us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
What are your thoughts on that first half? Where's your team at right now?
Oh, I mean, this is the battle we came for. You know, these two teams. It's pretty, been a few years of seeing each other all season, and so we came for a slog. We're getting punched. We're punching back. It's the weather's pretty adverse, but team's feeling good right now.
So we saw you have some dance parties in that space between quarters and semis. What was the energy battle you're talking about going into this game?
This team plays best when they're loose. I mean, I don't know if you all just heard the music turn on, but this the spiraling, churning about things that could have been done or regrets like that doesn't suit this team. And so, dancing into the next half.
Alika, what will be your primary message as you try to slay this giant that is North Carolina in the second half?
Effort. Weave it all out on the field. It's bracket play. It's win or go home, and this team really understands that. And so try and treasure every moment, be present, enjoy it, give it your everything.
Well said. We'll leave it there. Thanks for joining us, Alika.
All right, thank you.
It's one of the things I love hearing, the dance battle that is happening. The looseness from Quandary is one of the really exciting things about this program.
So we just heard from the 2015 Callahan winner, Alika Johnston. Her Colorado Quandary squad trails 8-7. We are on serve at the half in this women's semifinal. Well, Carolina's taking a page out of the Colorado playbook with a little halftime dance-a-thon. Colorado now huddled up, and it looks like we're going to be joined by Mary Rippey, former UNC standout, now on the coaching staff. Mary, you got us?
Yep. Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
We're enjoying ourselves, and
Okay.
hope you are. Another battle with Colorado, a couple breaks per side. Give us your thoughts on the first half.
I think we talk a lot. This is going to sound so cliche, so sorry about this, but we talk a lot about the energy battle. I think that's definitely going to come into play. You know, we had 4 games yesterday, had a hard game this morning. So, yeah, putting it all out on the line right now, but have a few adjustments to our defense and to our offense. But other than that, just keep the game plan.
Are you going to try to keep going to your depth, or are we going to see Don Colton playing almost every point in the second half?
I think you can expect both, if that makes any sense. Like, certainly Don is going to play a lot of our points, and we're going to be digging a little bit more for some of our looks as well. Yeah.
Mary, what does it mean to be back in the semifinals with this year's team? The winning streak came to an end, but the semifinal streak continues, and your quest for a 4-peat is still very much alive.
Sorry, I missed the first part of that question. But
What's it like being back in the semis with this particular team, with the adversity you had during the regular season?
It feels awesome. It feels so good. Coming into this tournament specifically, it felt like the past few years have felt like we're a very different team, and at the same time, at our core, we're very much the same. So I'm very proud of this team.
Appreciate that, Mary. Best of luck. We'll let you get back to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
I love hearing coaches talk about the energy battle. You can see it on the sideline. You can see it in players' body language. And right now, both teams were on serve. So we'll see what happens as the energy battle continues in that second half.
Chatting with Jesse Jones in the week before Nationals, talking about how Carolina's had a real disastrous season. They lost, 4 games? I mean, that's a normal, excellent season for most teams. For this Carolina team that has had just enormous, ridiculous standards.
I think sometimes losing 4 games in a tournament is still sometimes a good tournament.
Yeah. Jessie reminded me that she still has impossibly high standards. Her team would agree with that. In many ways, she felt like they got the monkey off their back by losing a game, and they've kind of embraced that. But she also knows they are a different team than they were a year ago. She acknowledges we're not as deep as we were a year ago. You mentioned it earlier, Katie, trying to convince players who are stepping into roles vacated by great players like Barnett, Youngston, Worth, and others, that you don't have to be that player. You just got to be you. Certainly bought in.
I think that's a lesson for all of us humans in every aspect, is you can't be someone else, so you might as well just be the best you can be.
This is Burdick. About 10 yards out. Wow. Was that phase intent? I'm not so sure. But it's Simone Parati laying out for the belly flop score for Colorado. 8-all.
That is certainly not the look that I was expecting to see on the end zone line, but it looked like Colorado knew what was going to happen. Those 2 teammates really making a connection there in that space for a clean Colorado hold. There's a big impact there on the turf.
Making sure that she was in, a quick glance at the observer, and then realizing that the wind had been knocked out of her a bit. Each team had 1 clean hold in the first half. That's the second clean hold for Colorado. All things considered, despite the conditions, Katie, there was no point in the half that had more than 4 turns, and only 14 turns per side in that first half of Ultimate.
Yeah, this game is actually moving along at a pretty good clip, and maybe that's why I was thinking there wasn't, you know, that intensity that we were already at 7-7 in the first half. But these teams are really, you know, notching points, moving on to the next one, and I think that really speaks to them being in the moment and not getting hung up on what happened beforehand.
To your point, we're at 8-8. The Vermont-Stanford game, which started a half an hour before us, is currently at 9-9. So the scoring has slowed on the other field. Same conditions, obviously, as this one. Off the hands and incomplete. To drop for Spencer.
Colorado really ramping up their handler pressure and stopping all the underneath options.
Liana Bradley. Able to get it right past the mark. Galach into the end zone for Bradley. Colorado's D-line coming up huge.
That's the second time in a row we've seen the throwing the crutch celebration there. But that's the second time that we've seen them throw what I would call unconventional space end zone pass. Pleiades does a really good job of stopping both the around backhand, the reverse break, and that inside up lane, and then it's just right. A dagger to the front of the stack, that third option. Defender poaching the space and not quite close enough to get that one stopped. Galach leaping for joy on that break throw.
Colorado's third break of the game. There's Liam Searle's bows. Those are not his real fingers, but he has a lot of experience in bracket play at Nationals. Now on the coaching staff, both he and Walker Matthews, former dark side standouts, now coaching this Pleiades squad. And this is going to be interesting. You know, Mary Rippey mentioned it, the 4 games yesterday, the hard battle with Carleton that went down to the wire. Feels like this Carolina Pleiades dynasty is, you know, not exactly on life support, but they're clinging to fumes right now. The gas tank is low. And can they sustain the energy and win that energy battle like they know they need to do against this upstart Colorado team that has experienced defeat at the hands of UNC too many times for their liking?
The movement from the Colorado defenders is so good. They're really cutting off angles, continuing to move their feet, continuing to move with the disc. You don't catch them looking. They're constantly what I would call orbiting or moving their relative position to the person that they're guarding, and they're taking away so many throwing lanes. Pick up field being signaled and thrown back. Pleiades is being patient with it, but Colorado is forcing them into looks that they don't want to have to take.
By the way, Katie, we misspoke earlier. We said 2 years ago that high turnover game was a semifinal between these two teams. That was the final. UNC and Colorado played in the final each of the past 2 years, with UNC coming out on top. UNC beat Washington the fall of 21 for their first national title.
Defense
Spencer,
is closely.
some miscommunication, and Phillips easily intercepts. Colorado sideline pumped up right now. Looking for Burdick. And Colorado now leads by 2. Back-to-back breaks for Quandary. You could feel the pressure intensifying as that Carolina 0 point progressed.
Colorado is a team that's known for their defensive pressure, and I think that if you would go back and watch that point, it's a masterclass in continuing to have tight options over and over and over again, because it wasn't necessarily a D in that nobody smacked it out of the sky, but because they put North Carolina under pressure, throw after throw, reset after reset, finally, you know, North Carolina cracked and gave them that opening, and Colorado did not hesitate going the other direction. That's something we haven't seen from them in the past as much as that killer efficiency going the other way.
Sierra Petrash with that assist. Hard to believe she tore her labrum in her right shoulder less than 2 weeks ago. Wild stuff. (10-8) Quandary. The 3-time defending national champions with their backs against the wall in this game to 15.
There is still so much game left to play, though, Evan. There's still so much time on the clock. If there's a team that can come back, we know that it's Pleiades. I wouldn't get excited too fast if I were us or if I was Colorado.
And just like that, they're within one, courtesy of Kaylin Louder, plucking it with a left paw. 10-9. Just the second clean hold of the game for the UNC offense.
And right when they needed it. You can't have masterful defensive points at every single point, as fun as they are to watch. But this big throw going up, the Colorado defenders are really sitting on that underneath space. So when they get a free throw, there's not really anybody who's on the correct side of those players, and that was just a really great connection from Yu Louder.
Teresa Yu certainly made a name for herself. Originally from Connecticut, grew up playing soccer and basketball. She didn't want to try out for the Ultimate Team in high school, but her friends convinced her to go. She made the team. She fell into it. She played YCCs in Connecticut for 3 summers. The high school program that Teresa Yu played for in Connecticut, Hotchkiss High School program, started by the Titcomb family. All right, Carolina within one. Colorado on O. Stacey Gaskell's out there on the O-line. So is Sierra Petrash, but the disc picked up by Abby Galach. Working in the backfield with Burdick and Williamson.
Really starting to shred through that Pleiades zone, which now has crumbled into a person.
Interesting that Cleo Phillips is on the sideline getting a breather. But Colorado is still on the doorstep without her. Gaskell to Burdick. And the backhand into traffic, but taken care of for the score by Brostovich. And Colorado creeps one step closer to a 3rd straight trip to the finals of college nationals.
You know, I think this is the first time I've seen Colorado play North Carolina where they didn't really give North Carolina any points due to the fact that they were North Carolina. I think one of the benefits for the entire maybe women's division that the streak has ended is suddenly the Goliath that is North Carolina doesn't feel quite as big. You know that they're human, and so they're not giving points away just on that, you know, fear of Dawn Colton is looming in the deep space. I think that you know, these players, as excellent as they are, become a little bit fallible, and that opens the door for belief in yourself. And we've seen teams really pushing Pleiades all the way through the tournament. So I think that's, you know, maybe Pleiades having a little bit of rebuilding, the entire division getting better, and then the streak ending means it's anybody's game.
3 losses this year for UNC. Once to Carleton, twice to Vermont. By the way, Stanford just took an 11-10 lead over in the other semifinal after Vermont was up 8-4 at halftime. So an incredible comeback in one semi. That shot from Carleton will not come back in. It stayed out of bounds, and Colorado is not only going to have possession, they're going to have great field position across midfield. The difference in a foot there, if that had landed in, Colorado would have another 50 yards to go. Galach picks up to Williamson. This is Leanna Bradley continuing for Bransford. And now Phillips. Riley was close to the block, make it louder, but Colorado with Galach on the doorstep. Smith surveys and a stoppage.
There's a really good switching happening by Pleiades as Cleo Phillips stormed up line. A player crowded that space first, but safely forcing Quandary into a different option.
In and out of Galach's grasp, and she says no call. Remember that moment. Chance for Colorado to stretch the lead to 3. Instead, the deep shot from Shakuski, sending Spencer just out of her reach. Quickly to Gaskill. Phillips. Galach. Thought about the deep shot, but there was a ton of traffic in the deep space near Gaskill. So it's worked around for Smith, and now back to Abby Galach. Again, looking at Gaskill, but multiple Carolina defenders were lingering deep. Phillips gets free. Cleo breaks the mark. Again, Colorado on the verge of taking a 3-goal lead. And it's not going to happen on that possession. There are red zone turnovers, Katie, and there's what we've seen from Colorado these last 2 possessions, goal line turnovers.
And I think that speaks to the defensive intensity and really good end zone defense that Pleiades is playing. They have just no options. They're really taking the easy reset, the easy under, and forcing Colorado into bad options in that red zone space.
Riley finding Combs underneath, and Sarah rips it. Gaskill versus Carleton. Stacy intercepts it with ease. Exciting to see the deep shot with that matchup, but Gaskill eliminated the suspense with authority. More turns this point than any other so far in the game. Cleo Phillips is there, and she's in, and Colorado extends its lead. The Colorado captain, who went to Chapel Hill High School, has her team up 3 and 3 points away from stopping Pleiades' championship run.
I don't know that we've ever seen, you know, a Pleiades team that really looks in this situation. It almost looked, as we see the Phillips goal, it almost looked like Pleiades was playing a possession game. Like they didn't really look like they were throwing deep throws for that receiver into that space, but just as a hope that somebody on their team is going to go get it. And that's just not going to cut it against a Colorado team who's going to use the full width of the field that are going to do that. It's been really great to watch Quandary, I think, grow into this confidence over the course of this tournament. We talk about Nationals being a celebration of the end of your season, but I think that the teams that improve the most at Nationals are the teams that have been on a championship trajectory throughout the course of a season, and Colorado just continues to get better.
Gigantic pull from Gaskill to the back corner of the end zone. Riley picks up some yards, but Carolina still in Callahan country.
And you can see the handler defenders just getting in the way of those throws.
Intercepted by Gaskill as the backhand popped up. Phillips again with a beautiful break. Faye Burdick has another Quandary break. 13-9.
And Colorado is excited.
Think back to this morning. I mean, obviously they had a pre-quarter final win that was relatively easy, but Colorado had a miserable start in the quarters against a Tufts team with Emily Kemp and Eddie Lamb, Annabelle White, and others just making it look easy earlier in that game. I think I said there's no way Colorado's coming back here. This is over. We're going to get Tufts versus the winner of Carolina Carleton. This Colorado team has completely been reborn, and they are 2 points away from exacting some sweet revenge to what happened a year ago. Last year's final, for the most part, Katie, was all UNC.
It was very different circumstances in that game, but the confidence that you saw UNC playing with there, just ripping through the disc.
This was in Mason, Ohio. Don Colton culminating the third consecutive championship with Birdsong, Youngst, Evans, Barnett, and all the rest of Pleiades. It's going to take one crazy comeback here in this semifinal.
You know, for me, we've seen a lot of crazy comebacks. This is being hailed as one of the best college championships ever. We've had such close games up and down the division, but coming back, if Colorado gets this break, would be so difficult for Pleiades. Pleiades is going to want to have a clean hold right here, coming out of their own timeout. They're in that vertical stack.
Well, this UNC offense has been broken 4 of its last 5 points, and a bobble, and Birdsong able to maintain possession inbounds. But you see the jitters, and Colorado's defense has been stifling. A stall's been called. It's going to be Quandary's disc either way. There's no contest on the stall either, so Colorado's going to get it close to midfield.
Keep it here. Keep it low side.
Hold. So we put it on the ground. Yep. Okay, now you say 3, 2, 1, just good.
Colorado looking for its 3rd straight break and its 4th straight score. How good has Abby Galach been? Gaskill. Resets over Birdsong's shoulder. Usually Erica's mark is more impactful, but not against Stacey Gaskill. Again, Galach easily gets free, connecting with Cleo Phillips. Marked by Dawn Colton. Pick in the stack. And the throw to Bransford, I think, is coming back.
Coming back in, stalling 6, a relatively high stall count for no other dumps back by Phillips.
Pleiades has life. Sarah Combs, the run-through block. Colton. Look at the energy from Phillips on the mark for Colorado. I mean, we're seeing that from most of these Quandary players right now in their 3rd elimination game of the day. You don't play 3 elimination games in a day at Nationals. It just doesn't happen. This year is different. These teams are different. Louder. Colton makes the adjustment. Bumped by Phillips. We play on. Allie Riley into the end zone. All right. Shakuski makes it 13-10. A much needed hold for UNC.
I thought Colorado had it there. They were on fire, but I think that they lost touch a little bit in the handler space. Everybody moving upfield, not really able to come back and forcing that turnover. And then so many possession-saving moves. Colton known for her layouts, but quickly flipping into the end zone. Shakuski, or Kuski, as you can see on the back of her jersey, is really churning up yards and doing a really good job of moving the disc, or moving without the disc for Pleiades, and then finds herself in really optimal positions.
North Carolina trailing by 3 here in the other women's semi. They're on universe point. Vermont receiving against Stanford. Whoever scores next will be playing tomorrow on ESPNU. Can Carolina put together an unbelievable comeback here, or will Colorado continue its improbable march back to a 3rd straight championship game? Williamson for Brostovich. And a turnover. Good pressure from you on Williamson.
Sometimes that happens when your offensive line is off the field for so long. The connections that were humming earlier in the game just don't happen, and gives life to the Pleiades defense.
Just the 4th Colorado turnover here in the 2nd half. Can Carolina capitalize? Deep shot from Combs. And it was off Colton's hands. And it's incomplete. There's no call. She nearly skied Burdick in spectacular fashion, but could not hang on. Catalano was wide open, now marked by Louder. And a push pass reset to Williamson.
There are players just wide open in the break space that Colorado isn't looking at.
Burdick for Galach. Nice cut from Brostovich. Williamson certainly capable of going every other down the field, along with Abby Galach. All smiles, a little contention. It's a foul, and there's no contest. Meanwhile, Vermont has just taken down Stanford on Universe Point.
38.
So Ruckus 13, Superfly 12. Either Colorado or Carolina will advance to face Vermont.
Yeah, Wu there was issued a yellow card for that physical contact on Petrash. Amicably resolved between players, but you want to make sure that the body contact between players is as safe as possible.
Oh my, that was in the hands of Burdick. Not in the end zone, but close to it. Second turn of the point for Quandary. Oh, you know what? The graphics on the broadcast were wrong. The Vermont-Stanford game's not over. 13-12 game to 14. Apologies there. Stanford still has life. So does UNC. Combs looking up line, and Williamson stride for stride with Teresa Yu gets the block back for Colorado.
Well, if you're going to turn it over like Williamson did, at least go get the disc back, and she does.
Floater of a swing ripped away by Galach, keeping it for Colorado. Petrash to Brostovich. Back for Galach. Williamson making the next cut. Yu stride for stride. Brostovich coming under. Crossfield hammered through the hands of the intended target. Sarah Laughlin in the end zone. My goodness.
We've seen momentum shifts happen on points with lots of turnovers, and that's what's happening in this game. It could be an absolute momentum shift for Pleiades.
UNC does not have a break here in the second half. Their last break made it 7-6. Trying to change that here to get back within 2. Another piece of ultimate effort from Faye Burdick.
What a defensive block from Faye.
Can Colorado punch this in? Nope. Again, a laser beam looking for Laughlin. You can feel that there's no Gaskill and no Phillips on the field right now for Quandary. They're certainly capable of scoring without him, but a few chances have gone awry. But that throw out of Riley's hands never had a chance.
You can feel the tension rising the more turnovers that happen in this point.
We've seen 7 so far. I beg your pardon, we've seen 8 so far. 4 apiece.
Loving the Williamson-Yu matchup.
Nice float on that swing from Williamson. Started to drizzle again. Not that these players are thrown off by that. Oh! Catalano this time comes up empty off her fingertips.
Yeah, taking some impact on that layout. It looks like she was thinking, should I clap catch it, or should I what I would call crab claw or clutch catch it? And that hand switch just doesn't give her time to really make a layout, limping off the field there. Hope we see her come back in this game.
Yeah, she's had a really strong season for this Colorado squad. Quandary leadership said, you know, obviously Cleo gets a lot of credit, Stacy gets a lot of credit, Williamson, Galach, Nori Catalano does not get enough hype in the Ultimate media for how good she is. Cleo Phillips coming onto the field, replacing the injured Catalano. Back to live action and a floater that Galach rips down for the block. Meanwhile, Stanford Superfly has completed the comeback on Vermont. So Stanford, a stunning finalist after they trailed 8-4 at the half. And nobody seems to want this 24th point of this semifinal here between Carolina and Colorado. This is a Colorado 0 point, and this is the 6th break chance, and Carolina has not been able to come close to converting any of them.
No, the effort is out there, but not the execution on either side. Williamson taking a timeout for Colorado. And I think getting a much needed emotional reset after this very back and forth point. We've seen momentum shifts happen. Obviously, momentum shifts change, but you just have to think it's really who comes out of this timeout with the most focus, the most grit, the most wanting it, that's going to get there.
Well, this has been a marathon point. Williamson taking away the up line there. That was one of the big Colorado blocks. That was a chance to finish it long ago. The first 8 points of this second half, Katie, there were only 10 total turnovers. It was pretty clean despite the ugly conditions, but 12 turns so far on this point. An 0 point for UNC. I beg your pardon, an 0 point for Colorado. Shikuski just scored to make it 13-10. Closing in about 12 minutes away from soft cap. The fans that were watching Stanford and Vermont have turned their attention to this game as the rain continues to fall here in Madison.
Yeah, maybe coming down even a little bit more strongly than it has been. We had a bit of a reprieve from the rain. And it looks like a trap cup, so they're going to trap Williamson on the sideline. A change up in their tactics after that timeout.
Williamson just ripping a backhand. Will it come back in bounds? No. So Carolina's going to have great field position. Williamson had Cleo Phillips, but that really never had any chance. Look at the hustle here from Shikuski, charging it up the line.
That is a lot of yards.
To Louder. This is Louder again. Rain intensifying, the wind intensifying. Plenty of adversity that Carolina has already experienced in this semifinal, and it's ripped away by Galach again. Phillips in pursuit, but unable to run that one down.
If they were planning on playing a field position game, they certainly gave North Carolina a lot of yards to have to go back upfield with wind and rain rolling in.
And look, if nobody's going to score for the next 10 minutes, Colorado's probably okay with that because they're much closer to the target. There is no hard cap in semis and finals unless someone changed that rule without mentioning it to us. So this won't be a game where a team scores to end the game in a loss. The team will have to score to win. It's been close to 15 minutes, Katie, since the last goal was scored. Riley to Shakuski. Couple minutes of very intense rain has subsided. In a weird way, it seems to be getting a little bit brighter. I mean, the brightest it has been all day. But UNC with their dynasty in Chapel Hill, 3 straight titles for this women's program. They're on the verge of being eliminated by the team they've beaten in the finals each of the past 2 years.
Dawn Colton has retied her shoes, I think, 3 times in this point. And we're going to see Williamson, who has turned it over several times in this point, picking up again. And it looks like it's going to be a downwind wind direction that Colorado is going in.
Each team has had 8 turnovers on this point. Again, it had been a relatively clean game before this point, especially here in the second half for Colorado.
Well,
Williamson fouled, no contest.
Would it really be a UNC Colorado game if there wasn't at least a point where Colorado turned it over many, many times?
It could be, sure, but I get your point. There's an underneath block from Louder on Phillips. But Carolina gives it right back immediately. The 17th and 18th turns of the point, and there's the 19th. A rare drop from a great player in Cleo Phillips. Excellent field position for North Carolina. Colton. See if she can try and take over, but you don't understand the fatigue. Everyone has to be exhausted. Teresa Yu still with some gas in the tank. My goodness. UNC with a break. And Pleiades is back within 2.
Teresa Yu continued to play. She was on the Williamson matchup for the majority of that point, and it was really a gritty point for you, really continuing to move on the mark, continuing to do, and when she's going, she's churning, she's throwing, and in this case, being the receiver, making sure, laying out, and then collapsing in exhaustion, being sure, and then her team absolutely swarmed her after that excellent layout catch.
She's going to get a chance to take a breath on the sidelines. It's not like this next point means any less than the last one, though, here in Madison. Carolina took a 2-goal lead in the first half. They were up 4-2, but Colorado quickly broke back 4-all. We were tied at 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s. Colorado back-to-back breaks from 8-7 down to go up 10-8. And then from 10-9, Carolina was broken 2 more times to make it 13-9. Now 13-11. Stacey Gaskill should be rested. That point that lasted over a quarter of an hour, she was on the sideline. And Gaskill's bolting deep, and the throw goes up. And it's not Gaskill, and it's not Burdick either. The throw eludes them both. Can Carolina control this down the field and convert to make it a 1-goal game? Colton's still out there. Excuse me, Katie.
I've said we've seen Pleiades perform in high-pressure situations before.
Dare downfield, a bobble, but Spencer hangs on. Up the line, that'll work. Russell for Myers-Miller. North Carolina within one.
Colton was the only player on that Pleiades side to cross over. However, half of the Colorado O-line returning for that point and just not having the legs to cement that long huck. A big throw from Galach into space. 2 players in pursuit, but just too far in that upwind space. And then it was all new players who were fresh, getting the D and then working down upfield.
Russell to Myers-Miller. And from down 13-9, it's a 1-goal game. We saw a comeback from 4 goals down in the Stanford, Vermont semifinal. Carolina trying to replicate that here on the adjacent field.
Just about 4 minutes left until cap. If we put on a cap in this game. But either way, we're getting towards that point total, this game to 15. And we're seeing Teresa Yu back on the field. But Don Colton getting a rest as Pleiades tries to get yet another break to tie it up. And Colorado, I'm sure, just want a score.
Colorado needs to take advantage of Colton being on the sideline here. Phillips chased by Yu, looking for Gaskill, but it's underthrown and then off the fingertips of the intended target. Not sure if Lauder got a piece of it or not, but she may have distracted Gaskill just a touch.
Sometimes just making a play and mistiming the other player's jump is all you can do on defense, and sometimes it's enough.
Again, no Colton. But Carolina has scored a lot of points without her this weekend and throughout their dynastic run. Hudson with a laser, rising but handled by Lauder. And then off the hands of Spencer near the sideline to give it back to Quandary. Williamson will pick up. Williamson will rip a deep backhand. 5 players are there. And it's incomplete. There is no call.
Trying to score in one throw when they've been so good at working it.
Yu is going long. Phillips giving chase. And Phillips's pressure. A foul was called by Yu.
Having this discussion very far apart from each other. Now they get closer.
This discussion might take us to the cap, Katie.
Not on the second effort?
Okay.
Okay.
No foul, says the observer.
Okay.
So it'll be Colorado's disc. If Colorado scores, it's a game to 15, like it would be. If North Carolina scored after the cap expired, we'd be at universe point. Stacey Gaskill. No stranger to this stage. Connecting across midfield for Phillips. That's not what Colorado wanted. Miscommunication. Another break chance for the potential tying score. We have not been tied since it was 8-8. Colorado led 13-9 if you're just joining us. Carolina, the 3-time reigning champs. They won their last 2 titles against this Colorado team in the final. Big huck thrown up there by Combs, but it won't stay in the field of play. The horn just went off. The cap will go on after this point. It'll either be 14-12 to 15, or if Carolina can break again, it'll be 13-all universe point. That disc deflected, but hung on to by Burdick.
There just aren't the options upfield that Colorado is looking for. It's a little bit stationary out of that vertical stack. At some point, you have to say, I'm tired and I'm going to run anyway.
Everyone's legs have to be feeling like Jell-O. Gaskell's going. Williamson fires it over the pack. But again, that just kind of felt like a desperation prayer more than a well-timed deep shot.
I concur. I think sometimes when Colorado gets a little bit into the weeds, they're not really having any sort of connections. And when they can't make them, they just play that field position game. Pleiades finding resets. Again, they don't have a lot of options upfield either, electing to take horizontal movement instead.
If I was North Carolina, I'd think about a timeout here, Katie. We got some momentum, but there's a stoppage of play. Carolina players down. Sarah Combs in the middle of the field. Meanwhile, the momentum continued for Pleiades. But now they'll sort this out.
Coming back?
Let everybody take a breather,
When was it called?
if just for a moment.
Okay. Then it would go back one throw. Yeah. It was called before the throw went up, so it'll go back one throw. Okay. Colorado is getting a blue card TMF for double teaming.
Katie, we have seen three-peats in the women's division in the past, most notably from the team that the winner of this game will face tomorrow, Stanford. A couple different three-peats through the years for Superfly. We have never seen a team four-peat. And about 25 minutes ago, it felt like Carolina's run was about to end.
That's fine.
Because Colorado was up 13-9. And now this is a critical call here as to whether that was a foul or a clean block.
It always feels like in tight games like this, cards, you know, not cards, my apologies, calls start to happen a little bit more frequency as players get more tired and, you know, maybe body control goes down or focus or everything gets more imminent.
Well, everybody's tired. Everybody's hungry. Everybody's thirsty. But these two teams are giving it every single fiber of their being to try to win this game right now. Soft cap going on after this point. Tough catch. And Hudson rips it. The adjustment in the end zone for Caroline Spencer. It's a 4-0 run to tie the game. And we've got Universe Point upcoming. Can you believe it?
I cannot, in fact, Evan. I thought Pleiades was out, and shame on me for counting out a team that has proved their mettle over and over and over again. That was a thrower that we hadn't seen, a player who made a play, and I think that Colorado just wasn't expecting the throw to come that quickly into that break space, and they immediately celebrated that break.
Macy Hudson, the grad transfer from the University of Tennessee, connecting with Caroline Spencer, one of those players who had a little bit more of a secondary role in past years, now surging into greater responsibility. And now in the second straight women's semifinal, we've seen a 4-goal comeback create a Universe Point. Stanford shocking Vermont all not that long ago. And now North Carolina trying to create the duel of dynasties tomorrow. If Carolina could complete the comeback, it would be UNC going for a 4th straight title against the Stanford program that twice had won 3 titles in a row, but had never won the 4th. Timeout taken by Colorado, and we'll see the best each team has on the field here. Remember, it was 13-9. Shakuski scored to make it 13-10. The U layout made it 13-11. That was the point that had 19 turns. And then Russell to Miller on the first break opportunity. The next point made it 13-12. 4th break chance at this point. Hudson to Spencer. Next goal wins. Galach centers to Williamson, and a collision in the middle of the field between Cleo Phillips and Dawn Colton. Colton apologizes, Cleo waves. Cooler heads prevail. Uncontested foul.
Oh, the momentum was building, and then it just dropped. We're going to have to see if Colorado can get in the swing of things.
If Quandary cannot finish this off, this is going to be one that they're going to have so many regrets about. The deflection, the turnover. Combs bats it down. North Carolina has the disc with a chance to advance to the finals again. Shakuski over to Teresa Yu. Colton's coming under. Phillips with an aggressive mark. May have been a contact call, refreshing the count. Yu takes her time, finds Riley. Colorado led this thing 13-9. Will Pleiades win this game on a ridiculous 5-0 run? Gaskill stride for stride downfield with Louder, prevented the under. Yu looking for somewhere to go. The disc hits the turf. A foul is called. Galach with the contact. Makes the contest signal.
Good play? Yeah. All right, pick call didn't affect, so we'll stay here on song 1.
It's a foul. Carolina keeps the disc. Riley. Yu at midfield. A loud Quandary chant from the fans here in Madison, trying to will a turnover out of the three-time reigning champs. Colton going deep against Brostovich. Colton skied over her. She's calling a strip and a foul. If it's a strip, it's ball game. Dawn Colton going over Ali Brostovich's shoulder to make a circus catch. If the observer agrees this is a strip, the Seven Sisters will have survived.
That's fine. If she came down on the defender and dropped
The defender is not what the defender is claiming.
Okay, Dawn had it first.
Yeah. All right. Like a rolling. Black had it first, so it's a goal.
It's a goal, and the comeback is complete. The most improbable of victories during this UNC dynasty. North Carolina overcomes Colorado to advance back to the final. 14-13 Pleiades.
That has to be the most incredible comeback that I have witnessed this weekend, which has been full of incredible comebacks. Emotions pouring out of both teams.
Just one of those games, Katie, it's tough to find the words to describe what we just watched. It felt like Carolina was done. Let's bring in Jonathan Monforti, our observer here in the booth. A strip in the end zone is a goal. We know that. They mentioned something about making the catch and the receiver falling down onto the defensive player. Frito, your thoughts?
Yeah, really, this is an incredible play by Dawn. Watching it live, it looked like the defender had position and had a chance to make the D. Dawn goes over her without really making significant contact, preventing her from making a play, and grabs the disc first. And then Colorado defender strips it out of her possession. Incredible play by Dawn on that. I think the observers did a great job of coming together, counseling on the call, and getting that call right.
If Ali Brostovich had called a foul, saying Colton came into her back in her vertical space, would she have had a case?
I'm not sure she would have had a great case there. I think Dawn went over her and avoided contact while making a play. You know, I think there was some insignificant contact on her way down after making the catch, but it looked like the defender didn't really go up aggressively into that vertical space to make a play on the disc.
Great stuff. Thanks, Frito. Excellent insight. They're going to be talking about this play for a long time, Katie Killebrew. Here's a great angle. Colton with another all-time highlight. A tad anticlimactic just because of the strip and the call. But ultimately, the observer calls it a goal, in a North Carolina team that seemed dead at 13-9 down somehow survives.
I almost don't have words for what UNC just did and what Colorado let slip away. I think that I would want to even go back and look, because I think the upfield defense pressure from both teams was incredible, but Pleiades actually adjusted much better and really threw Colorado out of a rhythm and really won the energy game, just like they talked about at the beginning of the game.
Unbelievable. And this weekend has had a bunch of these moments that you just shake your head at in awe and disbelief, but this one and this game certainly rises above. North Carolina 14, Colorado 13. Quick timeout. Hopefully we'll talk to Dawn Colton when we come back.
2024 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Discraft, home of the Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Your place for all your ultimate and disc golf needs. Visit discraft.com. We make flying discs fun.
Well, our Discraft play of the game, the final point capping the 5-0 run to come back. Dawn Colton over the shoulder of Ali Brostovich, showing off her athleticism, her experience, her poise. She's an all-time great. And we're joined by another UNC veteran, Allie Riley. Allie, congratulations on this crazy victory. I mean, you've played a lot of big games. Can you hear me, Allie?
Yeah, I got you now.
You've played a lot of big games throughout your career, but the adversity that you experienced in this one, being down 13-9, does anything compare the stage, the circumstances to what you guys just did here?
Yes and no, right? Like, we've been in big moments before. We've been in big moments against this Colorado team, and I just want to give, like, all of my respect to them because they fought a really great game. But something I've said this entire season is I just wholeheartedly believe that my team is the best team, and my friends are the best people to play Ultimate with. And down that stretch there, throughout that comeback, we just kept saying that we believe in ourselves. I believe in my teammates. I believe in myself, and we did it. That's what it took.
You finally put it together on offense and then made some defensive adjustments. Can you talk to us about those?
Yeah, I mean, sure, we can talk about strategy and those little tweaks that we made, and our coaching staff is brilliant, but at the end of the day, I think it all comes back to that faith and belief in one another. And we just wanted it. We wanted it really bad, and we fought really hard right till the last minute.
Allie, what's going through your mind when you see Dawn Colton chasing that disc? And she clearly didn't have position, but we've seen her make that play before.
It's Dawn Colton, man. It's a cheat code having her on our team, and I trust her every single time. It's a Dawn ball.
Tomorrow, you and your teammates will go for your 4th consecutive national championship. You're going to play Stanford Superfly. They also came back from 4 goals down in their semifinal against Vermont and won on Universe.
Wow.
What are your thoughts about that matchup against Stanford?
You know, at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful that I get to play one more game with this iteration of Pleiades, and that's what it's about. And good for Stanford. That's sick. We know what it feels like, too, so we'll see you there.
Yes, we will. Congratulations, Allie. We'll see you at Bree Stevens Field tomorrow for another college championship game. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Evan.
You can feel the emotion in her voice. It's a special thing. If you weren't devastated by some of the hard-fought losses, those wins in these moments wouldn't feel like the euphoria that you feel. So, honestly, shout out to Colorado. They were a worthy adversary, and they're going to be biting themselves. So many key mistakes late, Katie, but ultimately Carolina somehow found a way.
They absolutely did, but it was a game of inches and decisions in really tough situations that made the difference for me in this game.
So the women's final is set. And tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central, we'll see Stanford and North Carolina compete for a national championship. Pleiades going for their 4th consecutive crown. Dawn Colton, the hero. Crazy comeback from UNC Pleiades. The Seven Sisters survive 14-13 over Colorado. For Katie Killebrew and our whole crew, Evan Lepler saying so long for the women's semis here in Madison.